Now, our next presenter here is Tom McGee with River Systems. Tom, if you would come. And Tom and his company work in the area of social learning software and network system. And as we know, we are living in a world that is hyper connected. And so in the Christian community, and in particular us in the leader development community, many of us are wrestling with this about, we see obviously an enormous potential, yeah, for leader development work, and of course for the spread of the gospel, generally speaking. And so we try to address this. Oftentimes, what we end up doing mostly is simply using the internet as more of a way to deliver content, which is cool, but at the same time we know that there is so much more potential that we could be harnessing. And when I saw Tom's system and what they've been doing for many years, and they work with large international corporations in providing the software and the system to them. It's a fantastic approach that it's the best that I have seen, the best use of the current technology for personal leadership developmental purposes. And so Tom is going to be sharing with us from his perspective as far as the current opportunities and the trends in the massive potential that today's technology gives us. So please give him a welcome.
Malcolm took a big risk inviting me. Let's hope it works out for him. Frankly, I don't care. I'm going to have some fun, but I haven't done this in a while. I did a stint where I was doing conference speaking and consulting for about 5 or 6 years, but I've been involved with what was Triple Creek until this week. Triple Creek was the name of our company, but we are now River, and our product is River Software. I'm going to kind of pick up a little bit where Carol left off. Let me see. I'm going to pick up where Carol left off, in that what we're seeing with globalization, digitalization, urbanization, democratization of the internet is nothing short of a revolution in the way relationships, the way cultures, the way societies function. And it is definitely shaping the learning and development arena. I can go back to 1991, which is one of her key dates. I remember it well. I went out and bought a 300 baud modem. Anybody here use a 300 baud modem? Yeah, you're ancient too, aren't you? And I did that specifically so I could get on this new web service called CompuServe. And I had a little, how many of you had a CompuServe number? In the days before names, you know, there's 4 of us in this room. And that changed my life. I mean, I was a pastor. I was about 7, 8 years into a 10-year pastorate, but I could go online and actually search for sermon illustrations from the AP online and just see what's out there that's funny in the news that might relate to what I'm talking about. And that was 1991. Fast forward after my stint as a pastor, and then I was national director of a Christian nonprofit organization for about 5 or 6 years. I was doing independent consulting with churches and Christian nonprofits beginning in 2001. Anybody remember what happened in 2001? Yeah, we've all been reminded of it just in the last week. And the money dried up for consulting, especially in the Christian world, and I was trying to figure out what to do with the next phase of my life. And I was having a beverage, undisclosed nature, in the backyard where I was hosting a wedding reception for a good friend. And one of his good friends was there from Cincinnati, had an interesting consulting company called Triple Creek Associates. What was interesting to me was not the consulting end, but they had developed a product that they were marketing to Fortune 500 companies, like the companies they worked with, called Open Mentoring. And I asked him to tell me more about it, and we got talking, and it went on for a couple hours. And we became friends that night in my backyard with little tiki lamps glowing and the bride and groom kissing, and we kind of went off by ourselves. Make a long story very short, a few months later, I offered to help him put together a new leadership team for the company and to look at the possibility of moving it to Denver, where I would be involved in leadership of a new version of their company, where we would look at promoting this open mentoring product full time. I raised some venture capital. That was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my entire life. And I had been in the ministry for 15 years. So that's saying something. But we got the money, got it recapitalized, got it off the ground. And I got involved with it because, to be honest, I couldn't let the thing die without, in a sense, giving it a chance to see if it might work for the body of Christ. The guy I was talking to was a believer. A lot of the leaders in the organization were believers. Former pastor is our president and CEO. That was kind of my dream at the beginning, is that maybe I would work with the nonprofit organizations and he would work with the for-profit organizations, and we would take this out and make a run. But what attracted me was a revolutionary approach. Now, this is 1999 on up into 2001, early 2002. But what attracted me was, while the world was enamored with this new thing called e-learning, which is answering this question: how can we take what we're doing in classroom training and put it on the web, because it would be a lot cheaper that way? That's the question they were answering in corporate America. How can we save money in our training budget by putting that stuff online? The web wasn't even an option in those days for storing content, and people hadn't even really started using it much that way. But they were interested in starting online learning systems. We, as we sat around that table, agreed that that was the wrong question. The real question is, what kind of leaders do you want to develop? And information alone is not going to develop a leader. It's about relationships. And the answer and the best use of technology and the web is not delivering information alone. It's getting people involved in productive relationships. Now, this is long before there was a Facebook. The only analogous technology out there, which I heard about every time I did a product demo in the early days, was, oh, this is kind of like online dating for a mentor. You know, that's the only thing they could relate to, is you're looking at a profile and seeing if this is someone that you would like to have a relationship with. There was a mentoring relationship. Hey, but they had pictures in there, so you could use it as a dating site, I guess. And a lot of the companies we worked with were worried about that. Is that all it's going to become? But the question that we wanted to answer is, what kind of person do you want to develop, and what do you need to do in order to develop that person? And the answer for developing leaders and people in complex things like management are, you need other people. You need other leaders. Content alone won't do it. And frankly, Since that time, we've become a successful company. More organizations now, thankfully, there's another analogy called social networking that is now morphed into this thing called social learning. People are starting to ask the question, what kind of leaders do I want? And there's a futurist named David Huell who writes a journal called The Shift Age. And in 2010, he asked our organization to write an article on what we think the future of learning is going to be. And we started that article with this. What kind of leader do you want? Do you want person A or person B? Do you want someone who conforms well? Or do you want someone who's creative and imaginative? Do you want somebody who knows all the facts or somebody who can make wise judgments? Do you want somebody who's committed to the job or someone who's relationally connected? Do you want somebody who's competitive and ambitious? Or do you want somebody who's generous to others? Do you want somebody who can follow directions to the T or someone who questions the status quo? Which would you hire? A or B? Yeah, people want both. If you're hiring a subordinate, you want A. If you're hiring somebody to do leadership in some other organization that you don't have to manage, you probably hire B. Because you know that organizations need more Bs. The problem is our whole educational system is designed from the time you're in kindergarten all the way through an Ivy League school to produce who? A. The current educational system, who's the guy? Wrote a book called Excellent Sheep, which is a critique of Ivy League education and how it's producing excellent sheep, people who know how to follow well. But it's really not producing leaders. We need a whole different approach to leadership. And those forces that Carol talked about are driving us this direction whether we like it or not. At the same time, I ghost wrote that article with Randy Imelo. I was reading a book by Seth Godin. And Seth Godin kind of, in his book Linchpin, coined this idea of the artisan worker. That we need more people who are creative and imaginative, who are not just smart, but wise. And how do we develop that kind of person? Well, we're going to develop them in a multi-directional learning environment. We're going to develop them in an environment where leaders are connected to large global knowledge networks so that there's no boundaries to the areas that they can explore. We're going to develop them in an environment where collaboration is king, not competition. And so in 2010, after we wrote this, there started to be a lot more writing in the area of social learning. What is it? How do we move beyond simply social networking to actually producing intentional learning in these large organizations? And what researchers began to look at was something they called the Jennings-Reid-Doddick inverted C curve for learning and development. Basically, what e-learning did is take formal learning and make it worse by removing all the people. It was you watching a talking head on a computer and answering some really pretty lame questions. What social networking software was doing was actually moving them down the curve away from formal learning to unstructured learning. And actually, a lot of the social networks that these organizations have launched have been really used very little and have seen very little productive outcome from them. Why? Because they don't need another Facebook in their life. That's not why they're at work, is to share pictures of their grandkids or to talk about, what's going on in their department, at the next picnic. What they want to do is learn learn in a productive way that's focused. And what this curve says is that what you need is both autonomy, which is the horizontal axis, and strategic alignment, which is the vertical axis. In other words, you need to construct a social learning environment that gives people autonomy and choice over what it is that they want to learn, but also assures that their alignment with the goal, that they're on mission, that what they're studying and learning and spending time for at work aligns with where the organization is headed and going. I'll talk later about how we do that in River, but here's the important concept. Just throwing up a social networking site is not going to bring learning. Okay, you guys already know that. How many of you use Facebook for learning? How many use Facebook to keep up with your friends and your family? Okay, that's what that's for. How many of you use LinkedIn for learning? Yeah, about 2 people, 3 people. How many of you use LinkedIn to kind of just keep a good eye on what's going on with your collaborators in business and that sort of thing, and as a parachute in case you need to look for a job? Because that's how they make their money, is selling access to you to headhunters. And so it's a good idea to have a LinkedIn page. But there are 4 things that describe a true social learning environment. The first is that it's collaborative, second, contextual, third, connected, fourth, creational. And I'm going to talk very briefly about those 4 items. Collaborative. Collaborative learning blurs the boundaries between teachers and students. Who's the teacher at this table, right here? Would you raise your hand if you're the teacher? Okay, we have 1 teacher. How many of you are students? Okay. How many of you are both teachers and students? Everybody, there. You know, it just depends, it's situational. 20-somethings know a lot more about this technology than I do. They would be my teacher. I know a lot more about organizational management and leadership and strategic planning than they do. I might bring that to a relationship. But collaborative learning blurs those boundaries between mentors and, God forbid we use the word anymore, proteges, which describes this peon over here that wants to become just like me. Mentors, mentees, formal, informal. What is, a true collaborative learning relationship is both formal and informal. It's learning and it's a relationship. Friendships that can actually form in those. And it's organizationally directed, or is it individually directed? Well, why not both? Isn't there a way to make sure that what's going on out there lines up? Technology creates that opportunity for both learning and leading if it's done right. And we'll show you how. Second, it's contextual. Content is delivered in the context of needs, in the context of relationships. Okay, it's not isolated to information. Now, you probably can't read the little bars here, so just guess. You have 5 options. This was some research I did with some of our client organizations. Got over 1,000 respondents to it from, I think, 8 different companies across 6 or 7 different industries. So this is really a good research model, probably the best one I ever did. So you got 5 options. Which is most effective at improving your performance as a worker? You have option on-the-job training, mentoring and coaching, classroom, traditional training, conferences, or e-learning. Which end did I start from on this graph? On the left, right? What's the least effective? E-learning. What's the most effective? On the job. Why? It's contextual. You're learning the stuff you need to know and want to know right now. Why is e-learning the least effective? It's disembodied content. You know, what's a Google search? Let's here, let me see if I can. A Google search, let's say knowledge and information is like water. What's a Google search? Okay? Just a splattering of information. Now, to make that information useful, I have to find something. And, there's a couple of drops. Oh, well, you know, you get corrupted files sometimes, so there. Oh. So, you know, what's classroom training? Well, that's somebody telling me what I need to drink. I mean, you can have water, but what if I want, you know, Mountain Dew? I need something with a little caffeine to wake me up. No, you got to have water. You know, that's better. What's a conference? That's, you know, third up the line there. Conference, you just get a bigger bucket. Okay, and those of you who are thirsty, open your mouths. Oh, that's not enough. That's a whole table there. All right. And as the conference speaker, open your mouths. Okay, I'm really good at this, I promise. Okay, ready? Whoa! There you go. The conference speaker is there to throw a bucket of water out there and hope some of you catch it in your mouth. How effective is that? Not that. It would be much better if we just handed you each a little bottle, or even better than that, let you choose your own bottle of whatever beverage it is you want, and hand that to you personally and sit down and talk with you over that, have coffee, and bring relationship to you. And now information is being shared in a context, being absorbed over time. So as you think, when we're talking about contextual, and the reason I spent a little extra time here is you want to think in your leadership development processes, what's the best way to develop leaders? It is what? On-the-job training. It's giving them information as they need it, when they need it, in real-life situations, not even simulations, although that's better than just doing what I'm doing here. Connected, all I want to say there is that we have proven that distance relationships can be just as effective for learning and organizational effectiveness as face-to-face conversations. People are used to having digitally mediated relationships now. And you can mentor somebody. Well, this is another research study. Oops. I got to keep punching this, don't I? There we go. Come on, it'll catch up. Oh, well, it's waking up. We've proven in our research that face-to-face relationships and distance relationships, or relationships that are a combination of both, are just as effective as each other. That's the line. I put too many little clicks in here. So that's the little line. You can't really see it, but the little graph at the bottom just tracks face-to-face versus connected relationships. The last one is creational. What do I mean by creational? It means dynamic leadership environments need to constantly adjust to the needs of individuals and the organizations. We need to stay in that mode of staying current with the best technologies, with the best that leadership development has to offer. Not sacrificing relationships to use technology, but building them through technology. We need to create democratized environments where people feel free and safe to share new ideas. We need to celebrate those change agents in the organization who disrupt things, but oftentimes where it's through those disruptors and disruptive technology and disruptive people that change occurs. Technology can actually make that happen easier and simpler. In a traditional social network or social learning environment like a community of practice, there's a rule of thumb. It's called Jacob Nielsen's rule, and it's that 1% of the people create 90% of the content. 90% of the people are just lurkers. They're just there, and then 10% will participate and add to the content that's there that the 1% kind of kick off. What we need to do in these communities is try to draw that 90% towards the participatory side by creating permission to upload stuff and not waiting for the experts, only the experts to upload. Part of it is social, that is the reason that rule exists. However, here comes the rub. Creation comes out of what? Chaos. This is probably the main reason this hasn't set foot in Christian ministries and organizations yet, is that, well, how could we trust our missionaries to mentor each other? How could we do that? They're not experts. We need to have experts out there mentoring them. Only the senior leaders. There's only one person who's qualified to be a mentor on each field. And what if somebody from one field mentored somebody from another field? Maybe that person would want to move over to that guy's field. And we can't have that happening. Happened in companies and corporations. The Fortune 50 company, I was talking to the person leading the program, and she said to me, well, I know this is a good idea, but I don't think we have anybody in our 40,000 person company who's really, that I would want to be mentored by. And I thought, boy, they got a bigger problem than this. But that was the culture. It's like, you know, those are all old fuddy-duddies up there. Nobody wants to be like them. And they didn't trust people to mentor each other. When the product was called Open Mentoring. So anyway, creation is about change. People avoid change. Creation's about looking forward. People would rather keep things the same or look backward. Creation is about the big stuff, the important stuff. And people just want to make sure that there's a little course somewhere for everything that might be requested in the organization. Creation celebrates human potential. This is really why I'm in the field that I'm in. I believe that the internet has the potential to unlock relationships globally so that I can learn from anybody, anywhere, anytime I need to. And that's going to help me grow. That's going to help others grow. That's why somewhere, somehow, we need to figure this out as the body of Christ. This is where education is headed. And brick and mortar classrooms are going to decrease, and more education is going to happen virtually, but at the same time, more relationally, not less relationally. And we, as leaders in the body of Christ, I think, have to get our head around this, have to start thinking deeply about how do we make this happen in such a way that we can break down the barriers between organizations. One of the first interviews I had after I got involved with the organization back in 2002 was with a senior leader in a large missions organization as an umbrella organization for dozens of missionary organizations. And I pitched the idea of open mentoring naively, thinking, why wouldn't you want to do this and have all your mission agencies work with each other? The guys on the field, I mean, I know lots of missionaries, they talk to each other on the field. This would be exciting. And he looked at me with a straight face and said, I could never promote that in our ministry because the president of each organization would be scared to death that somebody might find a mentor from another organization and leave their organization for that one. He said, there's just no way that this would ever work. I found that true even within organizations, that those barriers pop up in people's minds. Why? They're not creational in their thinking. They're zero sum. If I lose that person, I've lost my investment. Instead of saying, yeah, but you might keep 3 missionaries, you're going to quit. Mentoring has been proven to increase retention by 10 to 20% in most organizational systems. Okay, I mean, people stay because they're connected. Okay, enough of the big picture in the sky. I want to show you some specifics in the time that I've got left. Okay, one of the things that I've done, write down the word leadership, if you want to, the word leadership, and in front of the word leadership, put 4 letters, S-I-M-P. Leadership, and then in front of that, write S-I-M-P, and you have simple leadership. Everything that I've said so far and will say from here on out, you can find on simpleleadership.com. It's a website I created for this conference as a place I created as a social learning website, not using river technology, but using technology you have right now through WordPress. How many of you use a WordPress blog or WordPress site? Okay. Just add BuddyPress to WordPress. I'll talk about that in a minute. So you don't have to take a bunch of notes. It's all there because I'm going to move really fast. But I wanted to go take a look. Technology is changing so fast, I had no idea what was out there that's new that I hadn't seen, so I decided to go look. And come on, this is supposed to, oh no. Well, there we go. All right, let's get ready to rumble. Okay, when you talk about social learning, here are the big boys. This is social networking stuff. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google+, Tumblr, Instagram. There are ways to use all of this in your ministry. Some of you are figuring it out. If you're figuring it out well and it's working for you, share it. Go on to that simple leadership site and share what's working, or text it to the Healthy Leader site, whatever, but share it. Probably the best possibilities for collaboration, team development are in Google+. How many of you use Google+ in your development teams? And it works pretty well. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's free. You get everybody in there. They have what they call breakouts and hangouts, and you can do a little video conferencing, share docs. That's where I would go if I was just looking for a quick place where I could start some online collaboration. Video conferencing, what's out there that I could use that's free instead of GoToMeeting or WebEx? Well, there's a site that I found called anymeeting.com. And they have it's a freemium model, and you can use this for up to 200 users. Okay, so you can have a massive conference free. Now, I haven't tried it with that many, so there's the caveat. I did make sure it worked. I tried it out with somebody. But they say, up to 200 users, it's free. And I'm like, shoot, there you go. And if you're not using webinars or that sort of thing to distribute content, but also the video does help relationship. It's better than just a talking head, believe me. We use it extensively in our organization, both for gaining clients and to service our current clients. There's another video conferencing tool I found called Uvu. Anybody heard of Uvu or use it? Yeah, it's pretty good. And it's free for up to 12 users. You can share your screen and, share documents. And it's pretty good. A notch above Skype and some of the stuff you're already familiar with. There's a couple of other collaboration sites that I thought were pretty interesting. Trello, which is kind of a card-based site where you can create categories and cards and lists and to-do lists and stuff. But again, it's designed so that multiple users can come in and use the same site. It's sort of a poor man's, project planning software. I get tired of seeing all the Gantt charts and all this stuff that I don't need. I just want to look at a list of stuff that's out there that I need to look at. This one was real interesting to me, called Real-Time Board. It's a shared whiteboard space, but you can actually stick PDF documents, or the second document on there is actually a PowerPoint that's workable. You can actually scroll through that PowerPoint on the whiteboard. And this might be a great collaboration space. So anyway, it's an idea. I wanted to give you a few ideas that maybe you hadn't found yet. Low-cost social platforms. Okay, I want to go beyond Facebook and LinkedIn, but I don't want to buy, a $40,000 Triple Creek River system. Is there something in between? And so I started just kind of looking, saying, okay, what are free sites you could set up? There's a site called Socialcast. Anybody heard of Socialcast or use it? They, again, their free site is for up to 50 users. The catch is everybody has to have the same company email. So those of you who have less than 50 in your company or organization, you can try the full version, not a knockdown version, but a full version for less than 50 members for free. The catch really is you're on their sales list and they're going to start calling whoever signed up for this or their manager. They make you give your manager's name so that they can work their way back up the chain. That's what we would do if we did this, so I understand that. But it might work. How many of you have tried modifying a Moodle system to manage learning? It's not as easy as it looks, is it? Okay, it's out there. I know one Christian organization that's done it and done it successfully, and they run all their training programs through Moodle, and God bless them. I couldn't do it. There's another site called Bitrix24 that sets up a free intranet, and it's very business looking. I'm not sure it applies, but here's my honest conclusion after many hours of looking just to scour what was up there this last month. And there's not much out there. Most of it's junk or just a teaser. And so that led me to do this. I got on WordPress, which I'm familiar with, downloaded a theme. Some of you have no idea what I'm talking about now. I barely know what I'm talking about, but somebody at your table probably does know what I'm talking about. It's probably the easiest way to host and run your own site. BuddyPress is a plugin, and I've put a video on my site that explains what that is. And what I did find is that with BuddyPress, you can customize profiles. That is a critical piece of the puzzle, because I put a profile on there, just level of leadership experience. Now that becomes searchable, okay? And your little organization could create its own social networking site that people could search by competency, by level of experience, find who has what expertise in the organization, and do it for a minimal cost. So anyway, what I did is set up this site called simpleleadership.com, and I posted some of the material from my talk. I posted, I actually set up a couple of groups, and any of you that joins, how many of you are doing a workshop here? If you're doing a workshop here, if you want a place where the people in your workshop can go and download the material you're sharing, or you want to add to that content, you could create a group. Name it, the name of your workshop. People here could go and look at that content. You could follow up on discussions there. I did create a file sharing page, and it's free for 30 days. Then I got to pay, but it's not that expensive, and if you guys start using it, I'll just pay for it. But anyway, for 30 days, we can do this for free. And this could be, and maybe nobody will use it, and I'll just take this thing down after 30 days. And I built it in a weekend. Somebody knew what they're doing, could build it in a day. Really. It took me a weekend because I got no clue what I'm doing. I've never done this many plugins and that kind of stuff before, but I got it done, you know. And I'm saying that not to say, you know, how smart I am. I'm saying that to say, if I could do it in a weekend, every one of you knows somebody could do it in a day. Okay, this is not that hard. It's not rocket science. Most of it's built in. Uploading pics and videos, chat. I create a little chat thing. Again, I'm using a freemium thing, so only 10 people can chat at a time. For I think, a reasonable monthly fee, you could include a video conferencing, video chat feature right there on the site so that people could connect that way. It's not that expensive. It would cost you, if you don't already have a media server, it would cost you probably less than $200 a month to set up something that, you know, 20 or so users at a time could use, run teams and groups through that. So I don't know. So that's what I've done with BuddyPress and WordPress. That's a way to do it. With the little bit of time I got left, I want to show you River. I didn't want to show you that to begin with. This is not a product demo, but I want to show you what the state-of-the-art kind of social learning platform looks like and what it does that these other approaches don't do. It's not as expensive, $30,000, $40,000 to start. Most of our contracts, even with large companies, are under $100,000 a year. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but it's really, you know, it's a couple of head count, you know, to most organizations. It's doable, would be really doable if several organizations worked on it together, could find a set of competencies that people could agree on. But what Triple Creek's, or what used to be Triple Creek, what River's software, River, I liked it better. I don't like change unless I initiate it. But anyway, what our software does is answer this question: where can I find the knowledge I need in context? Is it a group of people? Is it from an individual? Is it some of the content that we've already purchased as an organization or that we've uploaded? Or is it a combination of all that? What sets River apart is that it does all three things seamlessly. It actively recommends people and sets up relationships between the right individuals, groups, and content. We call these engagements. Whether it's a one-to-one, what we might think of as a mentoring relationship, or a group learning experience, it's an engagement. We try to get very specific with that. The second thing that sets us apart is that all that is mediated through the lens of corporate competencies. So we work with the organizations to identify what are those competencies that the organization believes in and that are critical to their mission, and what are those that the people, how does that translate into what people actually need to learn and learn how to do in order to accomplish those competencies. And it doesn't matter whether it's a community or a mentoring relationship, they all align to one or more of these competencies. The competencies are graded at a self-identified level. Like, for example, here we're looking at sales. This specific competency underneath that bucket of sales is contracts, which I used to have to do for our company and I had no experience in. I would have loved to have somebody to talk to about that besides our lawyer at $300 an hour. Choose your experience, intermediate, and then the system automatically recommends that you should advise and learn at that level. You can change that. But you see the idea here, and this would have to be deeply rethought for any Christian organization, even more deeply rethought as an organization that was shared among, or as a solution that was shared among Christian organizations. Is there a set of competencies that are the big picture things that we could agree on? I don't know, but I think somebody needs to give it a shot at some point. Based on that, the system recommends learning groups and engagements that are going on already out there that you might be interested in, people who have expertise in the areas you're looking for, and resources. You can upload any course content that's SCORM compliant. We're getting more and more partners like Skillsoft and Get Abstract and others that are working with us to supply content. But you end up with a home page that looks pretty familiar, looks like on the surface like a Facebook page, aggregates what's going on in your learning world, but it's all focused on learning and around those competencies and around things that you are actually involved in. So that's our tool. The important thing that I want to show you is that this exists now. This isn't future. Future, it's going to be even better. I mean, we got 10 developers who are working on this full time, making it better. But the technology exists right now, and it's scalable. It's affordable, relatively speaking. You know that Blackboard program I showed you? $10 per month per user. That's not too bad. Well, at scale, this is like $2.50 per user, at 1,000 people. So, I mean, it's affordable in the relative scale. It could be used to connect leaders of all levels to both authoritative content from .edu and .org institutions. How many of you create content that you would be willing to share with other people on the web for free? Okay, maybe you have some that you want to keep proprietary, but most of us have stuff we would share for free. People could create learning engagements. They could take online courses, study videos. What could happen? Okay, here's why I got involved. It hadn't happened yet, but hey, I got a group of leaders from all over the world. You never know what might happen. What if, and this is what I'm thinking is going to happen. I've tried going to individual Christian organizations, from small ones to the largest in the world, and nobody's bit. They're either going to just develop their own or just put a Facebook clone. But what would happen if a group of, they appeared, 12 individuals, that's a nice round number, said, we're going to band together and get this done. Could the world see a place where any Christian leader anywhere in the world could go and find not just content, but people? It's in 11 languages already. It could find people who would be willing to meet with them online, in cyberspace, or in their own geographical region. You can search either way. Could that start a movement where we could see a global Christian leadership development network begin to form? I don't know. That's up to God. I gave up a while ago trying to make this happen. I've retired. And, maybe it'll happen in my lifetime. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll never happen. But I still think it could be a tremendous thing for the body of Christ if we would put down our barriers and we would share our resources and we would be the body of Christ to each other as leaders across the globe. Technology's there. The money is not that big. It's harder to get than you think, but I don't know. Pray about it. How many of you, would wish there was something like that? If you didn't have to pay for it, how many of you wish there was something like that? Okay, only a few. So maybe it's not a big deal. So we'll see. But there's an idea. So that's it.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much, Tom. Just stay for a second, if you would, bro. You very graciously shared with us the learnings that you have had over the years about using the technology for personal development, leadership development. Very helpful. There's a lot in there. We've captured all of these on video, and we'll have the PowerPoints and so forth, so don't worry. I'm sure you missed a lot of that. We'll have it. It's very excellent software that you just showed us at the end, the River software. And your company has been really successful. There are many corporations, especially large ones with thousands of employees, who use the software, but as yet, there are no Christian organizations that have embraced this.
Come close a few times, but comes down to that last thing, and what are we going to spend that money on? Oh, we got a big training event that we got to bring everybody in from around the world, and that's going to be a lot of airfare and stuff, so we can't do it this year. I'm like, okay, there you go.
We can sense a little bit of your discouragement along these lines, and here, as you shared, one part of your original vision was, let's do something here for the body of Christ, to build the body of Christ. So I just find this fascinating that here we are again in the church of the Lord Jesus with the creator of the world living in us, and yet we're still steps behind the corporate world.
Let me obviously I've thought about that a lot. And there's a little phrase in Paul's work and other places in the New Testament, but in the fullness of time, God sent his son. In the fullness of time. And the reason I was hanging on at Triple Creek maybe a little longer than I should have after my heart attack. And partly because I was hoping, to see this dream happen. And it's like God just said, in the fullness of time. It may not be this, it could be something else, but God, I really, you did hear honest disappointment. Everybody who gives birth to a baby doesn't like to see people reject their baby. But at the same time, I really believe in the fullness of time principle. That God is not slow. I've been willing. It just hasn't been time. And maybe it's time. I don't know. We'll see. The second thing that just today I want to add to that is the passage today in the lectionary, the daily office. You probably don't have any Anglicans here. Oh, we got a few. Yeah. The passage today was, unless a seed dies and it's buried, it bears no fruit. And dreams have to die. We have even a saying in our company: every sale dies 3 times. It's in the fullness of time. Things happen the way they need to. So, thank you. I want to wrap that around.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Wow. Let's give Tom gratitude. Thank you. Yeah, really excellent, bro. Excellent.